Welcome back. Last night, it was a big night for the 2024 presidential race as Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump took to the stage for their first and perhaps only presidential debate. We were listening to parts of that debate throughout the morning show. They discussed several issues such as the economy, immigration, reproductive rights, and foreign policy. Both candidates are claiming victory this morning. Joining me live in Studio A is Fort Bend Republican Party Chairman Bobby Eberle and via Zoom Texas Democratic Party Treasurer Odus Evaghuru to discuss each candidate's performances last night. Gentlemen, good morning to you both. Thank you so much for your time. To make things simple, we might have a little of a delay with the Zoom. So Odus, I'm just going to ask each of you questions, and then the other one can respectfully respond after. I will start with you, sir. What was in your thoughts? Yep. Who walked away a winner last night?
Well, I think the American people walked away the winner because they got to see one of the things that is driving people to the polls, and that is this idea that conservatives are under attack and being censored, because it basically was a 3-on-1 debate. And of all the things to take away from it, I think the American people saw that. The CNN debate was much more fair across the board in the way they were questioning, the way they were handling responses. But at least 5 times the moderators directly went after former President Trump. And with Harris, there was lie after lie after lie that went unchecked. And to see that, to reveal that, the only thing I wish former President Trump would have done is to call that out a little bit, not to complain, but to at least put that in the minds of the American people of what they were seeing. And I think if you look at social media and you look at the comments today, that is the big thing that stood out, is how one-sided the affair was.
Odus?
Yeah, I have to respectfully disagree. And obviously we were watching 2 different debates. Number one, I do agree with the fact that the American people did win, because they got to see the far contrast that many people have been talking about, not since 2020, but since 2016, since Donald Trump entered the presidential foray and then became president of the United States. And to say that CNN's debate was far more fair, the only reason you're saying that is because CNN didn't live fact check him. Donald Trump has repeatedly lied, from the Washington Post to the Wall Street Journal, which is a favorite publication for Republicans, from every news organization that is out there, has fact-checked him over and over and over again about the repeated lies that he has said. Another thing that was just stated was that it was stated that folks wished President Trump would have called it out. Last night, all he did was keep calling Kamala Harris a liar and how the Biden administration hasn't done anything. Listen, we saw again Donald Trump in his steep decline and how we have to question his mental acuity. He couldn't keep his cool. He can't keep his focus, and he lashes out like a child. And you saw that. When they asked him about the question about why did you blow up the bipartisan immigration bill, his response was, they're eating dogs and cats. Come on now, we've got to tell the American people the truth. We can disagree on ideology, we can disagree on process, we can disagree how we get there. But that debate last night just showed again why Vice President Kamala Harris is the best well-positioned person to become the next president of the United States, and why we need to retire Donald Trump once and for all.
Odus, thank you. Bobby, I want to ask you, were there any moments throughout the debate that spoke to you, that really stood out, that perhaps came across to the American people in a way that they were needing to hear the message?
Yeah, I think foreign policy stood out a lot to me because we see the track record, the chaos. There was one time Vice President Harris talked about Americans want stability, and yet over the last 3.5 years, there's been instability. And if you talk about Ukraine, you talk about the Middle East, these areas were under control under former President Trump, and it's complete chaos around the world. So to bring that contrast up, I thought was very effective.
Odus?
Yeah, listen, again, I'm just going to have to disagree. When we talk about stability and Donald Trump talking about bringing stability to foreign countries, he left this country unstable. How do we know this? Because we saw a massive mob be incited by Donald Trump and attack the very capital that we all love in Washington, D.C. So don't talk to me about stability when President Trump left the country unstable. Listen, the moments that stood out was when Kamala Harris talked about how Donald Trump left us. He left us in chaos. He left us with the highest unemployment rate this country has ever seen. He left us with no plan coming out of a global pandemic. Donald Trump just left the American people, and now he wants to get back into the White House to repeat the very same things. And then another thing that stood out to me was Kamala Harris talking about the economy and making it opportunistic for people who are lower class, who are middle class Americans, who just need to afford a house, who needs student loans being forgiven in the economy that Donald Trump left us, and other things like that. And then also the contrast, seeing what old versus new looks like. Kamala Harris wanting to turn the page, even admitting that she's not Joe Biden, she's not Donald Trump. It's time for the American people to move on into a new generation of leadership.
Okay. Odus, thank you so much for your response. I just want to wrap this up. I apologize with the technical difficulties and you not being able to. Odus, just so you know, Bobby does not have an earpiece in, so he's unable to hear your remarks. So I do apologize for the setup of this. Closing thoughts on this. You're saying Trump is walking away a winner. This morning, Odus, you're saying Harris is. What are your thoughts on this being a turning point in the race? Did anyone come out gaining more support from the American people, support that they didn't have before going into the debate?
I think on policy points, probably not. I think the key thing to take away, though, is those people in the middle, those independents that feel that government doesn't represent them, that see former President Trump being attacked with case after case after case. Again, the media siding with the Democrats in a one-sided 3-on-1 debate is a takeaway that people in the middle can come away with and say, wow, there is a point here. We are fighting against something larger than just tax cuts or the border. It's kind of the survival of America when the media can team up to try and influence the election for one candidate over another.
Bobby, thank you so much. Odus?
Yeah, again, to blame this on the media, to me, again, is a little absurd. We used to be a proper country where facts matter. And that's what the moderators did as journalists, being the fourth estate, checking facts. Every organization checked both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris yesterday. So we've got to be truthful to the American people and Houstonians who are watching this morning. Listen, my big takeaways is that Republicans still can't win on reproductive freedom. You saw the stories that Kamala Harris told when she's on the campaign trail, having women carry babies that are dead in their wombs 2 terms for stillborn, and chipping away at the very freedoms that we've gained as Americans is absurd. Then again, you saw the stark contrast of old versus new, past, present. It's time to flip the page in American history and move forward. And then number 3, Donald Trump is still senile. Again, like I mentioned earlier, in 2016, 2020, he may be a little bit more sharp, but now you've seen the decline. Anytime he gets attacked, he loses his cool, he cannot process things, and he lashes out like a toddler. And like I said earlier, when we are talking about the immigration bill, which they've been talking about forever, all he did was, hey, the reason I killed that bill was because they're eating dogs.
Okay, well, this conversation could go on forever.
Yes.
I do appreciate you both of your time this morning. Again, my apologies with the technical difficulties. Bobby Eberle and Odus Evaghuru, thank you so much again. We do appreciate it.